My name is Elena, and I am 32. I live alone in a small apartment in the city. The walls are quiet, almost too quiet, and the evenings feel longer than they should. Since my divorce 2 years ago, I have carried a heavy loneliness. Some nights, I simply stare at the ceiling and wonder if life will ever feel warm again. The apartment smells faintly of old wood and coffee. I keep the blinds half closed, afraid of the world outside. My friends have lives that no longer include me. Even my phone feels distant, like it belongs to someone else. I walk slowly, speak softly, and laugh only when I remember how it used to be. Work keeps me distracted during the day, but at night, the silence grows sharp. I order food sometimes, just to hear voices from the delivery person. I sit by the window, watching the street lights flicker. People pass, unaware of the emptiness inside me. I feel invisible, yet I am painfully aware of every ache in my chest. I often think about the life I had before the divorce. The home that was once filled with laughter is now only a memory. Even the simplest things, like cooking a meal or watering plants, feel lonely. I try to fill the silence with music, but it sounds hollow. My heart feels fragile, like glass ready to shatter with a single touch. Some days, I cry softly on my bed. I cry for the love I lost, for the dreams that slipped away, for the warmth I once felt and cannot find again. I miss holding someone's hand, sharing little jokes, or just sitting in comfortable silence. Nights are hardest, stretching endlessly, reminding me of the empty spaces in my life. It was a rainy evening when I first noticed him. I was hurrying home from work, my coat soaked, hands trembling from the cold. He was sitting on the bench outside the cafe, an umbrella over his head, looking lost in thought. Something about his eyes felt familiar, though I had never met him before. He looked up as I passed, and for a moment, our eyes met. I felt a strange pull, like a quiet whisper inside me. Without thinking, I slowed my pace. "Do you need some help?" I asked softly, surprised by my own voice. He shook his head but smiled faintly. The next day, I saw him again at the same place. This time, I carried an extra umbrella, thinking perhaps it would matter. He noticed and thanked me, his voice gentle and calm. We talked briefly about the rain, the city, small things that did not seem important but felt meaningful. Over the following week, he kept appearing at unexpected moments, on my way to the bakery, near the park, even outside my office. Each time, he nodded or said hello. He did not intrude, but his presence began to feel comforting, like a quiet light in a dark room. One evening, he asked if he could walk with me to the subway. I hesitated, my heart racing, then nodded. We walked slowly, talking about the simplest things, the weather, our favorite cafes, the little joys that usually go unnoticed. It felt strange and beautiful, like discovering a new color in a familiar sky. I did not know his name yet. He did not ask mine. But I felt a soft warmth growing inside me, a small hope I had long forgotten. The loneliness that clung to me began to loosen its grip, replaced by a gentle curiosity, a feeling I could not yet name but did not want to ignore. Over the next few weeks, we began meeting more often. Our conversations grew longer, filled with quiet laughter and shy smiles. He always asked about my day, listened carefully, and remembered the smallest details. I started looking forward to these moments, a gentle anticipation that made the emptiness inside me soften, just a little. One afternoon, we shared a coffee at a tiny cafe near the park. He spoke about his childhood, his love for old books, and the small joys of cooking. I told him about my apartment, my quiet nights, and my lonely routines. He nodded and smiled, never judging, never rushing. It was easy to open my heart, slowly, piece by piece. We began taking short walks after work, watching the sun set behind the city skyline. Sometimes, we did not speak at all. I held his arm lightly, feeling a warmth I had not known in years. The simple rhythm of walking together became a comfort, a silent promise that someone cared, truly cared, about me. One rainy evening, he shared an umbrella with me again. I laughed as we huddled close, our shoulders brushing. "I like the rain with you," he said softly. The words made my chest ache in a way I could not explain. It was tender, fragile, yet it felt real, something I had almost forgotten was possible. We started exchanging messages, small greetings and good nights. Each note carried care and thoughtfulness, a softness that made my heart feel lighter. Slowly, I began to trust him, though a quiet caution lingered. Years of disappointment had left marks, but his presence made me wonder if healing was possible, even for someone like me. Sometimes, we sat on the park bench, sharing sandwiches or pastries, laughing at silly things, talking about dreams we never dared to tell anyone else. I found myself telling him things I had kept hidden for years, the fears and the little hopes. He never pushed, only listened, with patience that felt like a warm embrace. One evening, he seemed distant, staring at the street as if lost in thought. I noticed a shadow cross his face, a weight I had never seen before. "Is everything okay?" I asked gently. He forced a smile, but it did not reach his eyes. Something was wrong, though he refused to say. Days passed, and he became quieter, answering my messages late or not at all. The warmth that had comforted me now felt fragile, slipping through my fingers. I tried not to panic, telling myself that everyone has bad days, but a gnawing fear settled deep in my chest. I felt alone again, more than ever. Then one afternoon, I saw him with another woman near the park. They were laughing together, close in a way that made my stomach twist. I froze, unable to breathe. Could it be a friend, a relative? My heart told me the truth, but I tried to deny it. The world blurred around me. When I confronted him later, his silence was heavier than any lie. He admitted things I did not want to hear, things I had never imagined. The stranger I had trusted, the warmth I had leaned on, carried a part of his life he had hidden from me. I felt my heart crack, each word a small fracture. That night, I cried alone in my apartment. The rain outside matched my tears, a soft, endless drizzle that soaked the city. I had allowed myself to hope, to feel again, and it had been betrayed. The trust one had built seemed foolish now, a fragile dream shattered by truth I could not ignore. For days, I avoided him, avoiding messages, avoiding the park, avoiding the thoughts that clawed at my mind. Memories of laughter and shared moments became bittersweet, sharp as broken glass. I wanted to hate him, to push him away, but a quiet part of me still ached for the connection, even if it had been built on a lie. I sat on the floor of my apartment, trembling, staring at the rain streaking the window. My chest ached, and the tears would not stop. I had let someone in, allowed myself to feel warmth again, and it had been torn away. The truth felt heavy, impossible to carry, and yet it was real. Memories of our walks, the quiet cafes, the shared smiles, they all now felt like illusions. I remembered the way he held my hand, the gentle care in his voice, and I wondered if any of it had been true. My heart shook with confusion and pain, unable to reconcile the love I felt with the betrayal I now knew. I called his number, my fingers trembling. When he answered, I could hear the distance in his voice, the coldness that had not been there before. "Why?" I whispered, voice breaking. He could not answer. His silence was a hammer against my chest, each second of it unbearable. That night, I wandered the empty streets, rain soaking my coat, the city lights blurred and distant. I shouted, I cried, I wanted to believe it was a nightmare. But every detail, the hidden meetings, the lies, the smiles, cut deeper than words. I felt small, fragile, utterly alone in a world that had promised connection but delivered betrayal. I returned home, exhausted and broken, collapsing into my bed. Sleep did not come easily. I replayed every word, every gesture, searching for answers that would never arrive. I shook, not just from the cold, but from the heartbreak that settled into my bones. I realized that love, even gentle love, could leave scars invisible to the eye. Through the tears, I understood something painful but necessary. People are flawed, love is fragile, and trust must be guarded, yet hope is not useless. My heart hurt fiercely, but I also felt the faintest spark of survival, a whisper that life, though cruel, could still hold softness and light if I allowed it someday. Days turned into weeks, and I began to breathe more freely. The sharp edges of betrayal softened slowly, like ice melting under warm sunlight. I still remembered him, the warmth, the lies, but the pain no longer defined me. I learned that healing was quiet, patient, and fragile, yet real. I started walking in the park alone again, watching the world move around me. The rain no longer felt like sadness but a cleansing, a reminder that even storms end. I smiled at strangers, spoke to neighbors, and let myself notice the small beauties I had ignored. Life seemed slower, gentler, and somehow possible again. I wrote in my journal, pouring out thoughts I had once held back. I forgave myself for trusting, for feeling, for loving too openly. The lessons were harsh, but they taught me resilience. I understood that vulnerability is not weakness, it is proof of courage, of daring to live fully despite past hurts. One morning, I brewed coffee and sat by the window. The city was waking slowly, and sunlight spilled across the floor. I realized that life continues, even after heartbreak. I could choose warmth, small joys, and hope. The stranger in my life had left, but he also taught me something vital, how to feel again. I stood by the window, hands wrapped around my cup, and let the quiet fill me. The loneliness still lingered sometimes, but it was softer now, manageable. I had been broken, yes, but I was also stronger, wiser. Life was not perfect, but it was mine, and I was ready to live it fully again. Evenings became peaceful, filled with gentle routines and small comforts. I walked, I wrote, I noticed the world. I understood now that people come and go, and some leave marks, both painful and beautiful. I carried those marks like delicate scars, reminders that I had loved, lost, and learned to heal.